I mean, I like the lesbian that tortured people.
Navia.
Yeah, so, okay, let's start here. In the middle of the week, Aaron sent me a DM.
Leyla out of nowhere gets a message just like, Leyla, I'm scared.
No, hold on, I'm gonna find it. I'll edit out the finding it, but I'm gonna find it.
Okay, so this was not long after you sent me the Dear Evan Hansen NFT. Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm sick.
And this week, we talk paradoxes in Proserpina with the 2021 mystery adventure game, The Forgotten City. Before we reveal that this podcast has just been built over the remains of 3 other, more ancient podcasts, remember you can help us on Mortify the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through a link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
How do you feel about time loops?
You know, so we've discussed on this podcast that I don't like time travel. That's just like not my thing. I'm finding time loops an exception to this rule because time loops are a puzzle and bitches love puzzles. It's me. I'm bitches.
Yeah, so 2021 was notably a big game for a big year for time loop games. We had the release of Deathloop was probably the biggest one, but also there was the 12 Minutes, this like top-down puzzle game that featured Daisy Ridley and another famous actor in it, which has a very stupid twist in it, I've heard. But also this game, The Forgotten City, which is notably a Skyrim mod, actually. This game started out as a mod of the 2011 game Skyrim.
Skyrim modders come in 2 flavors, I've found. Some of them, like the people behind The Forgotten City, are out there doing the Lord's work, and some of you are perverts.
And some of you just want 100,000 different textures on anime titties. And listen, somebody's got to do it. It's hard work.
It's you know what? You are doing someone's work. I'm not sure if it's the Lord's, but it is work. And I commend you for the effort.
But yeah, so this game, notably originated as a Skyrim mod, but then got released as a full fleshed out game in 2021, so significant that, it was released on Xbox Game Pass. That's how I played it. But yeah, it was extremely well received at the time. It reviewed very well. And we're going to talk about it. I believe it's my turn to do the plot summary. And I'll break down what happens. Obviously, spoilers. We're usually a full spoilers podcast, but, just big spoilers for this game. Because we can't talk about it without spoiling it. So, basically, you start out as just like a random person. You wake up in a riverbank in Rome, and you meet a woman who calls herself Karen. And she's like, hey, you just woke up near this river. Are you okay? This guy named Al, I sent him into this ruin a little bit ago. Can you go check on him? He hasn't come back in a while. And you're like, okay, sure. And when you go into this ruin, you find this, it's a Roman city, but there's a bunch of weird, creepy golden statues everywhere. And you see these plaques that read, the many shall suffer for the sins of the one. And you find this guy, Al, except he's dead, content warning for suicide, throughout this game. He's died by hanging, and he's also a golden statue. And he's left a note from 2,000 years in the past saying that he relived this this time loop, for, thousands and thousands of days, to the point where he got sad and couldn't handle it anymore. And you're like, wow, that's scary. Anyway, don't know what that's about. This warning about, not going into the temple must be for someone else. You go to this temple, you fall into the time paradox, and you wake up 2,000 years in the past. Roughly, I want to say around 60 or 70 AD. And you enter this, Roman community, and you meet a bunch of characters that are all living under this golden rule. Basically, they live in a society that believes that if any of them commits a sin, they will all be turned to gold, like the many different golden statues that you find littered throughout the city. But also, as you start to talk to people and realize that, there's going to be an election coming down, and like the mayor's daughter is missing, you start to realize that like some of these people suck ass, and it's weird that, they haven't been turned to gold or anything. So you start investigating it. Basically, you meet a lot of people, which we'll talk about. But in the end, you discover that you're not just in the past. You're dead. You're straight up dead. And you're in the underworld. And this golden rule is actually caused by, the god of the dead. Be that Pluto or Hades, or as we'll find out later, Nergal or Osiris. And basically, you can do there's 4 different endings. But the canon ending, the way you're supposed to actually beat the game, is to figure out how to escape the underworld without triggering the golden rule. And we'll talk about the endings here in a bit. But the canon ending is you talk to Hades, and you're like, hey, your golden rule is bad, actually. And he goes, oh, I didn't think about it that way. And then he goes back to his planet.
That is basically what happens.
Yeah, we'll talk about ancient aliens here in a sec. But do you want to start? Any character catch you did you like in particular, Leyla?
I mean, I like the lesbian that tortured people.
Navia.
Yeah. So, okay, let's start here. In the middle of the week, Aaron sent me a DM.
Leyla out of nowhere gets a message just like, Leyla, I'm scared.
No, hold on. I'm going to find it. I'll edit out the finding it, but I'm going to find it.
Okay, so this was not long after you sent me the Dear Evan Hansen NFT. I say to you, IDK if you started the Forgotten City, but it's freaking me out, dude. Oh? And then I say, I swear to God, one of the gold statues looked at me when I interacted with an object next to it. And then, afterwards I said, yeah, I'm having a good time, but there's some parts that are way scarier than I thought. In between me telling you that the statues looked at me, or like me messaging you that was freaking me out and the statues looking at me, I had gotten to Navia's arc. So I was like, oh, this is actually a lot scarier than I thought it was going to be. But, yeah.
Well, my favorite part about that is the way that you get introduced to that arc is the sketchy scammer man is like, hey, man, I found out on the DL that the way people got turned into these golden statues, because they are people, is they got shot with a golden bow, like the one that Athena has in her temple. Now, what if you give me your bow that you took off of the assassin? I put a little bit of gold leaf on it, and we do a little switcheroo. How do you feel about that? And I said no. And then, so the entire time you're playing this game, this is like one of my favorite mechanics. The entire time you're playing this game, there's like whispers giving you hints. It's very spooky, and like you don't really know what to think of it, because the whispers start out very like, who are you? Why are you here? Yeah. And then eventually start to help you. And the whisper says, do it. Like, okay. So I did it, and of course the scammer traps you in the temple with a hornet's nest, and then what you do, which I thought was very funny, you turn the hornet's nest to gold, it drops through the floor, and then you go into this tunnel. Now, when you are selecting whether or not to help out the scammer and go get the golden bow, there is a tooltip underneath the selection that says, hey, if you don't like action or horror elements, you don't have to. You You don't gotta. We introduced this game to you as an investigative game. You really don't gotta. And I said, bitch, I've been watching too much John Wolfe. Let's go. And the Hornet's Nest dropped, and I was like, this is fine. And, you know, you go through a couple of things, and I was like, whatever, I got this. And then you get to the peeled statues.
Yup.
That shit is horrifying because they are golden skeletons ambling towards you, begging you to kill you. Begging you to kill them, rather.
Yes, yeah. So, essentially, right, Leyla talked about the the torture lesbian. Nivea used to be like a doctor, right? And she, you know, took care of people in this town. But one day she saw a gold statue that was so sexy that she did fall in love with it. And also it whispered to her, the same person that's whispering to you apparently whispered to her. However, you know, she figured out, and she's like, oh, I gotta free you. And it became like an obsessive thing for her. So she started trying to figure out how to make the statues not gold. And unfortunately she did figure out that all the people underneath the statues are still alive. Because she like basically puts them on these like racks and, you know, gets a fucking vegetable peeler out and starts hammering away. So you get like these, you know, like half flayed people that are constantly in pain, you know, their faces covered over with gold. And they are screaming at you. You know, like it's still Skyrim mechanics. So it's like, you know, the horror does not come from the fact that you're going to die, right? It's the fact that they are like screaming and like you are getting like the, you know, like, you're getting the sound of that you are in danger. Like when they actually hit you, they just go like, ah. Like if you imagine what an Oblivion mechanic looks like, just
audience.
Slash.
Aaron just swatted at his webcam like a cat.
Yeah, because that's all they do is they sort of like claw at you. But like the screaming and the like, it never ends. Please kill me, help. That all sucks ass. I did that at about 10 o'clock at night. I have a problem where sometimes I play video games when my wife is trying to sleep, and then she's just like, what were you yelling at when I was trying to sleep? And I was like, well, I was very afraid is the thing.
Well, you were being very brave.
I was being literally so brave about it.
So brave.
There's also, oh god, the last part of that sequence is the statue that she falls in love with. You find her, and the statue whispers to you to like turn around, and I was like, no,
that got me.
That scared the fuck out of me. And then she's standing there, Nivea, and she's like, rah! She's like, hey, what are you doing in here? And I was like, this sucks. Like, I was getting chills all up and down my spine the whole time. It scared the shit out of me. But like, yeah, the thing I messaged you beforehand was like, there's like a little like note that like a message, right? Basically somebody's reading, like had a speech sitting on a podium, and there's a statue like sitting, like looking upwards at the sky right next to it. When I picked up and read the note, the statue's face turned and looked at me. And I about shit myself. And that happens like constantly, not constantly, like maybe once every 15 minutes you play this game, a statue will turn and look at you if you interact with an object next to it. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, especially if you're not expecting it. Because, I mean, like, you know, you walk into this temple, and the funny thing is, so, like, when Karen's talking to you on the shore, she's like, hey, man, my buddy Al, he's, like, in there, can you go get him? And I'm like, okay, so he made you promise not to go and follow him at any point for any reason, and then you get to the door of the temple, and Al left a cheeky little note that's like, if I'm not back in an hour, follow me, or don't, wink. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really, it's like, is it an invitation? Is it a warning? You don't know.
I was going to say, let's talk about Karen, because, like, at what point did you know that Karen was actually Charon?
I mean, like, I immediately knew she was a fishy asshole.
Right? It's not like, subtle.
Yeah, no, this game is not about subtlety at all.
No.
It's not a bad thing. Like, that's genuinely just, like, not the tone here. You immediately know that she's a fishy individual.
No, so I took some screenshots because I was like, oh, I know what's happening here. So, like, what she says is just like, oh, you know, I don't want to tell you my name, people, and you're like, why not? And she's like, well, all right, sorry if I sounded cagey. It's just that I don't always get the best reactions when I introduce myself. My name's Karen. And I was like, oh, this is a Greek-Roman thing. And then she also says something like, you ask like what she does, and she's like, I feel like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. It's like, okay, all right. And then the game, to make sure you got it, they flash back to these lines when Equitea, the priestess, explains to you that you're dead. So, like, yeah, the game, I don't know. I feel like the game handholds you a little bit. Like, I kind of wish that they would let you discover those things on your own. But, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Karen's fine. Non-binary icon.
Non-binary icon. I do... my fanfiction for The Forgotten City is that Charon was going by, like, her Greek-Roman name and then, went into a Starbucks and they spelled it Karen, and then it just stuck. So I do think a barista renamed a Greek god on accident.
That tracks.
And that is the headcanon I'm going with. In terms of the hand-holding, I didn't have how do I put this? That was the tone of the whole thing, right? Like, it wasn't, again, this is not a place for subtlety. This is a place for, hey, here's what I think about philosophy. I'm going to talk you through it, fucker. And you're like, cool, I get a shoe a golden bowl while you talk to me. That's not a bad deal. So didn't particularly mind it. I did like Equitea. I thought she was pretty cool. I also liked, or whatchamacallit. We do have to talk about our other king, Galerius.
Galerius, the best character in this game, yeah.
Yeah, the only nice one.
The only good person, yeah.
Yeah, everyone else sucks shit, and then Galerius, comes in, fucking just king, farmhand king, becomes accidental sort of king. Audience, if I sound like I can't quite put a thought together, it is because I am physically ill right now. This game made me so motion sick. I did need a little bit of floor time shortly before this recording, so if you're like, wow, Leyla's extra weird on this one, it's because I'm just over here sipping on my Sierra Mist, not sponsored, trying to regain my brain cells. Yeah. Are there any characters that stood out to you in this? There's a lot, right? There's a big lineup.
Yeah, there's like 20 different characters, but I think I've listed the ones that are most important. I want to talk about Galerius a little bit because he is so fun, because like this game, oftentimes in time loop games, they will make you, there's not a lot of quality of life shit. Like they will just make you, play through the same options that you've already done. Which, especially in like a more visual novel style format, when we did, say, like the Bird game, right? Like you'd either have to make your own separate save, or you'd have to go back and play through, and that's kind of irritating. This game does something really nice which is when you do repeat the loop and go back in time, like Galerius, you can just explain to Galerius that you're in a time loop, and he'll just be like, okay, I guess. I mean, I apparently gave you this thing from the future, because he gives you a little zip line, and like there's also options where you can just be like, hey Galerius, I'm busy, I'll talk to you in a bit. But my favorite thing to do is whenever you, like, at a certain point, you will have certain objects, right? You'll have gathered 2,000 gold to buy these people out of slavery. You'll have got this medicine for 2 different people, and you can just run up to Galerius and be like, hey Galerius, I don't have a lot of time, here's this medicine, this needs to go to this person, this medicine needs to go to this person. And you can also tell him to stop being a homophobe. This person is gonna jump off this cliff, so you gotta go stop them before you do that. Here's 2,000 gold to buy them out of slavery. Also, Equitea is in love with you, here's a flower, but she can't marry you until she turns 36, but after that you're good to go. And he's just like, I have never met you before in my life, but I believe you 100%. And then while you just dick around in the city, you see his character model sprinting throughout the forum. It's so fucking funny. I love this man.
Yeah. He does rule, because like the first time you time loop, you run into Galerius, and he's like, hey, what were you doing in that shrine no one's supposed to be in? And you're like, no, don't worry about it. And he's like, what? I'm sorry, I've been drinking. Have we met? And you're like, Yeah, we have met, actually. And you have been drinking, and you're about to take me to the magistrate, and you're about to tell me about your farm. Is that correct? And he goes, oh my god, I guess I did drink a little too much yesterday, didn't I? And you're like, yep, bye! Later! You just run off. Yeah, it's, he's a great time. Shouts to our king. Did you get him elected magistrate?
No, I never managed to do the electoral route. I'll tell you once we get through characters. I'll tell you what happened in my run. Did you?
If you're counting the YouTube video I watched,
I am counting the YouTube video.
Shout out to the playthrough I watched. Because I got to Navia's like her thing in the palace where you like run around. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to finish that because it was just like fun gameplay for me to like, because it's kind of horror, kind of puzzle, because yes, there's a lot of those peeled statues, but if they're like, you can like lure them to algae and then freeze them in the algae en masse, and I thought that was really fun. And you could like turn curtains into gold and stuff. But holy shit, my man, after I finished that, I was like, nope, it is floor time. And I put a playthrough on at 1.5 speed, and I just kind of laid on the floor and waited for my mashed potatoes. So I think, so are there any other characters you want to talk about before we go to the god of the underworld?
I mean, we should talk about fucking the actual plot, which is that the mayor, Sentius, he basically, the reason that you could time loop is that Proserpina or Persephone told him a magic spell to, go back in time to prevent people from breaking the golden rule. But, spoilers, he liked the power that gave him because he was like, eventually somebody's going to fuck it up, but I keep my memories. So I can just keep going back in time, but he doesn't tell you that he can keep his memories because he's actually locked his daughter up because she found a way to escape the underworld, and he didn't want to do that. So he just like tied her up, and that's the whole thing. Is you have to go rescue her. I mean, I don't know. He's a completely fine antagonist. I don't think he has anything special. I mean, I like villains who are motivated because like they have a cool, cushy life. That's kind of my favorite villain archetype.
I can't. Kaiser from Fallout New Vegas permanently ruined men in Roman armor for me. Like, that is my permanent association with dudes in Roman armor. So whenever he opens his mouth, I just hear Kaiser from Kaiser's Legion. So therefore I have no thoughts on him other than like me pointing at him going, was that Kaiser? But yeah, he sucks shit. I like his bitchy daughter, the older one.
Yeah, not
Sentia.
Scintilla, but yeah, Sentia. Yeah, no, she's great. She's just like, oh, who let this fucking barbarian in my house with your ugly ass cargos?
Ugly ass cargo, yeah. She insults your fit, she insults your whole shit, and then she's just like lounging on the couch, and you're like, aren't you like worried about your sister? You just complained about her being missing, and she's like, what? Waste my energy pacing about the castle? Like, yes, queen.
I think not.
Absolutely. You keep lounging in despair.
Yeah, she's great. There's just a lot of characters, and there's a lot of different backstories. There is one, like the shitty guy that you mentioned, Decius. He has a very fun ending, where if you get the true ending, he's able to go into the future and live out his life, and you can give him bad stock information and tell him to invest everything in like DVDs, like Blockbuster essentially, and that's fun. But other than that, I think that's all the main characters we should talk about, except for the God of the Underworld.
So you know that meme that's like, there's a really thick book and then it's like a really thin book next to it, and it's like blank if someone had a gun. I did pull a screenshot that made me laugh a lot because you can have a gun in this game. That's a thing you can do. And there's 3 options in a row at one point when you talk to the God of the Underworld. Because I'm here to kill you, draw golden bow. I'm here to kill you, draw wooden bow. I'm here to kill you, draw gun. And truly, that's peak humor to me.
Yeah, so like you can choose your background when you start the game. I chose the archaeologist so I could read all the like fun graffiti and like the languages and stuff.
Same.
But there is one that's just like soldier where you get a gun with 10 bullets in it and you could just use them wisely is what they say. I wonder if you can actually kill him. Hold on, the Forgotten City. Can you shoot the god? Okay. I can't find it. It would take too long for me to look it up, but I it's very funny that you can draw a gun on Pluto. Listeners, if you try to shoot Pluto, write in.
Yeah, because he's just a crypto bro.
Now that's an interesting take.
Is it?
Why do you think that the god of the underworld is a crypto bro?
Because he thinks he's superior to you because of his cool technology.
I guess.
And he thinks that the world is his plaything and has wagered the fates of everybody on a dare from Jupiter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is stupid, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's a crypto bro because, like, he doesn't have that weird techie fascination. Like, he's not all about his technology. He just thinks that he just uses it as a tool. It's not his personality.
Are you sure? Because he had, like, cyborg blue glowing eyes and sat in, like, a weird space chamber.
Yeah.
He does commit to the aesthetic quite a bit.
But you know what that reminds me of more than crypto bros is Assassin's Creed. How much did you care about the non-Assassin's Creed backstory, especially in the first 3 games?
I have only ever played Odyssey.
Oh, word?
My brother in Christ, have you seen Cassandra?
Listen, no, I understand that you're very gay. But
like you have to understand, I came into stealth games very late. Like Dishonored was pretty much my first one. I never thought I was good at them. In fact, I found them very spooky because sometimes there's jump scares. And I had no interest in Assassin's Creed because it was too deep into the franchise. Like, I really had I didn't know if it was like a Final Fantasy thing where like each installment is different or if there was some like continuity to it. And I didn't know anybody who played them, so I had no reason to. And then they showed me a lady with biceps, so I played Odyssey. And do you think I've played one since? No.
I think that's probably a good choice if I'm being honest. But like the first couple Assassin's Creed games are all about how ancient aliens are going to cause the 2012 apocalypse.
Now, that's a selling point.
You also get to fight the Pope. You get to punch the Pope in 2, which is very good. So, you know, I think they're too big. We probably can't do a series on Assassin's Creed. But maybe that's something we could keep for the future. But yeah, I really was like, oh, they're just doing the thing where like the reason that human civilizations got advanced is because of ancient aliens, which I think is always a very boring. Like, I don't think it's a very interesting take on, I mean, any fictional thing, you know, like the Skyrim version, I believe they were just gods. So like, I kind of would have preferred if they were just like deities that had always been here, because like he you know, at the end when you talk down, you basically, if you collect all the plaques and you have this philosophical debate with Pluto, eventually you can convince him that the golden rule is flawed, and he's like, okay, well, that sucks, I'll leave. And he like literally just like flies back to his planet. Like, I don't know, I'm always disappointed by that kind of storytelling because I just don't like ancient aliens, both as a concept because it, you know, kind of infantilizes the people that came before us. You know, I think that the ancient Egyptians were perfectly capable of building the pyramids. They drew big pictures showing us how they built the pyramids. And also, it's just like, I'm much more into that mode of classics and mythology and storytelling. I just, you know, I like my sci-fi and my, you know, fantasy separate, except for Star Wars.
I can't remember what I was watching, but it was somebody talking about ancient aliens recently, and they were like, do you know how the Aztecs came up with the triangle shape, and the Egyptians came up with the triangle shape. They stacked fucking rocks, and they figured out that it was the most stable shape. It is not difficult to come up with a triangle. You don't need aliens for that. So yeah, like, I agree. How do I put this? This game lost me a little bit, pretty quickly, because, I stopped being interested in its philosophical arguments really, really quickly, because it's just, like, not for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, here's the golden rule, and it's this nebulous thing, and it's really subjective. I'm like, yeah, my man, I'm a woman. I know. I know.
I understand how laws are evil and bad.
Yeah, you don't gotta tell me that some people's idea of justice is subjective, and sometimes you have to use violence to course correct. I get it. Don't worry about it. So I really like the mystery element, but like the philosophy element started to just lose me. It's just, I also, honest to God, like, I really just don't. I'm not really into games that wax poetic about philosophy anyway. I'm much more interested in just, like, straightforward narrative, and if there is, like, a point to make, there's a point to make. That's just a taste thing for me. I wanted to go around doing shooty shoots and solving my big puzzle, my big time puzzle. That was my goal. But yeah, so, like, honestly, when I was watching that playthrough, I appreciated the fact that through the time loop you can gather evidence to convince Hades that, like, his shit is stupid. But it was such a long conversation.
Yeah. I also watched a video because what happened in my time, or my playthrough, was that I was gathering all the plaques, and then I thought the game was telling me that one of the plaques was up in the cistern, and then I accidentally triggered the ending, and I got the ending where only me and one lady, the daughter, got out. She does set the man on fire, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I was going for the true ending, and then I got to this one, and I was like, well, that's kind of disappointing. But, like, I went and looked through it. I watched the video this morning, and, like, yeah, it's like it's a half-hour conversation of just, like, reading through his dialogue and, like, saying the things back to him. And, like, the way that I read it through all the walkthroughs is that you have to collect, like, you have to say all the right things. Otherwise, he'll just, like, kill you, turn you to gold, which is not interesting, unfortunately. I feel like there are definitely ways in which this game could have been smarter about its deployment of philosophy and writing. Like, there's a bit where you talk to this Grecian philosopher in one of the caves, and, like, he's like, oh, I want to have a Socratic dialogue with you. And I thought that, like, it would be a much smarter thing to allow you to continue to ask questions back at him instead of answer his questions, because that's how Socratic dialogues work. And they didn't give you that option. I was disappointed for that. So, like, yeah, listen, like, this game, 80,000 words, built by, like, a guy, like, basically one guy, according to Wikipedia, like, the publisher and developer, Nick Pierce is the guy who did the vast majority of the work on this, but, like, he would work, like, 80-hour days, or 80-hour weeks, so that way the rest of his team wouldn't have to crunch on it, which, like, I mean, you're still crunching yourself, my guy. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know about any game development stuff, but, like, I would rather you maybe not work 80-hour weeks, my friend. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that this man didn't work hard on this game, obviously, but I do think that the writing could have been a little bit stronger, and I really do wish it got a little bit more in depth with the philosophical arguments it's trying to make, because, like, do I think the game succeeds at what it's trying to do? Like, yes, but I think it's a little shallow.
See, so we have a question in here that we occasionally ask, which is, what is it trying to accomplish, and does it succeed? I think it is trying to accomplish the function of a philosophy 101. Like, I think there's plenty of room for, like depth and subtlety, but I don't think this is it. You know what I mean? I feel like this is a Skyrim mod that stumbled onto an opportunity for somebody to, like, have a dialogue with the audience about, like, hey, isn't shit fucked? In, like, the most obvious terms humanly possible. And I think it succeeds at that very much.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that for us? I think that like, you know, if you're into discussing philosophy, I don't think it's for me, period, just because I don't want to engage with philosophy on any overt level when I'm playing games, just because I'm good. I'm replaying Elden Ring, and yesterday I had a whole moment about the fact that in my second playthrough, there's a little quest you can do with Blide, and I had a great time with that because I forgot how tall he was, and that was entertaining to me. He jumped down from his little post, and he stretches all the way up, and I'm like, damn, son, I forgot you're like 9 feet tall. Rip to my angel. But you know, that's the kind of brain cell level I operate on. Do you like, I don't know, this is Mortified, the friendship quest. So friend, riddle me this. Like, do you like engaging with things that are on their surface philosophical?
See, like, my default answer is no. Like, I don't know that I am an especially philosophically minded person, right? But like the actual answer is like kind of, because like one of my favorite parts was having that conversation with that guy. There's all sorts of really like interesting writing about subjective morality and how things change. Like when you have a conversation with one of the legionnaires, and they're talking about how like Matt, like he's like, I think the golden rule is good because mass punishment is like pretty cool. And you're like, where I come from, that's a war crime. And he's like, the fuck you mean a war crime? All war is terrible. Like, don't say stupid shit like war crimes. And I thought that was really smart. But like, the thing is that like I got a 100 level philosophy education by going to Catholic school, because a lot of Catholic theology and apologetics is taking arguments that are rooted in like Platonic and like like early like Greek philosophy, and like applying that to Christian theology. So like there was some stuff in here that I really liked, and like I'm a big classics nerd. I liked a lot of stuff in here, but like I don't know. I don't think I have the background to really engage with games that are actually philosophical. Like, I mean, you can listen to our fucking Xenosaga episodes where I watch an hour-long video on Nietzsche and be like, this is what I think Nietzsche's philosophy is based on, like, very little research. Is this anything? But, like, I don't know. Like, I guess the answer is, like, I guess where I come down on philosophy is that, like, I don't know. Everyone is a philosopher. That's just like how people talk. I think that everybody reveals themselves, their own personal philosophy, by the way that they act and they behave. But I would just call that ideology and not philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's that answer does not surprise me. I think
oh no.
Yeah, it's just considering all the conversations we've had, and also your other podcast where you talk about being an ex-Catholic and and Christian media. Yeah, I mean, like, even Xenosaga, I think is an interesting point to pull, because my engagement with that series is so surface level, right? Like, I just sit there and I go, beep, 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 Jesus looks like Orlando Bloom. Like, somebody who was raised relatively without religion, right, because of, like, compulsory atheism in the Soviet Union, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I agree that, like, I prefer to think about people's actions, people acting on their philosophy in order to show me their ideology, rather than engaging in philosophical thinking. Philosophical thinking exhausts me. I took a Philosophy 101 course at my local university online my sophomore year of college, because I was, like, missing a credit or something. Never again. Fucking never again. I love to talk to people about what's going on in their brain boxes, but fuck me. If you make thinking your job, I can't. It drives me nuts. So yeah, that being said, for the fact that I am super not the audience for this game, for all the reasons we just described, and And I also don't like the classics. Like, I have no interest in ancient Rome and no interest in ancient Greece. It's been, I am the dead horse that has been beaten with the Grecian stick. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do it. This was very engaging for me. If I didn't get super motion sick, I would probably try to get a couple of the endings.
Yeah, I think I come down not necessarily in a similar place, but like I think our feelings are similar in that like I liked the experience of playing the game. I liked a lot of the the mechanics and the motions, and like the day-to-day things that you engage with. I just think that where the game comes down in the end is just not quite enough for what I was hoping it would come to. I was kind of hoping it would come to a more profound conclusion about its golden rule, but rather than just like all morality is like inherently going to be a problem, and like that's just how humans be. Because it's like, yeah, no, we know that. But like, yeah, no, I'm glad we played it. I'm glad that we, it exists. It's, it is a testament to the fact that, people can create, a big AAA game like Skyrim and then turn it into a completely wildly different thing. And that's really neat.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really good Skyrim mods, that add a bunch of story to that game. Skyrim, in the first-person mode, unfortunately, also makes me very motion sick.
Gotta get that over the shoulder. I did want to ask you a question before we start our wrap-up. I feel like for our marketing minute, if we had the ability to take an existing game and turn it into a weird, different time loop game, what game would you want to change and into what kind of time loop?
What, do you have one? Off the dome?
What would an interesting... I like to play the Total War franchise. I like those, RTS, like moving troops around. I think there's a way to do a time loop game with like a military strategy game where like you are like given a historical battle, and like throughout the course of many loops, you have to figure out how to win it with your like limited amount of soldiers. Like I think it'd be incredibly interesting to be like, here's the Battle of Thermopylae. You have, like 300 Spartans and 3,000 allies, and you have to hold out against, 50,000 Persians or whatever. And you just have to like play through the battle over and over again and maybe like uncover different secrets by trying just a bunch of weird strategies. I think that'd be so fun.
Here, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said, because I can't really think of... Because listen, here's my answer. Do you want to know what my fucking honest answer is? My answer is Elden Ring. I want a time loop where I can make my wolf boyfriend not die.
That's less a time loop and more you miss Blade.
I do. I miss him so much. But hear me out. Game pitch. Time loop. And your goal is to make the Trojan horse thing succeed.
Define succeed.
I think the Trojans should get to win.
Leyla finally comes out as pro Troy. I can't believe this.
Just for a little spice, because I think the horse thing is cool, and I just want to see what happens.
I feel like I saw a post on like Twitter or Tumblr that was just like, my mental illness is so bad that by the time I got around to bringing the horse into the city, those Greeks would have starved to death. And I think that's the actual way you win.
That is true. Not as fun, though, as time looping it until you can get that big horse in the fucking city.
Get the horse, kill the Greeks, save the world.
Or just, something like that. Like, I just want some big, stupid stunt that you can just loop until it's good. And the only thing I can think of is the Trojan horse, because, listeners, as I've said, I am ailing. My brain is at none capacity right now.
Well, you said stunt, and now I'm very interested in what a Fast and the Furious Bronze Age would look like. I want to see fucking Grecian Vin Diesel ramp a chariot into another chariot.
Vincenzo Diesel.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think that would rule, actually. And I mean, listen, they've already gone to space in the Fast franchise. So next, I think, is time travel.
It's gotta be, right? That's just how math works. Oh, God. When we are not speculating about how to make the greatest franchise in media history better, Leyla, where can we be found on the internet?
Find me at LEYLSES on Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm writing my May essay on how Elden Ring really cleverly reuses a lot of assets and how they kind of disguise that reuse and why I think it's super cool. Aaron, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at AaronSXL, where I tweet about tabletop RPGs, writing, and health policy. You can listen to the other podcast I do at The Bible Boys. We just released an episode on Constantine, the 2005 superhero movie with not John Wick. He plays John Wick, Keanu Reeves. And that was a lot of fun. We're going to talk about The Way Down and HBO in the upcoming weeks. I released a video review of Riley Rethel's Galactic, which is a Star Wars tabletop RPG, which imagines a universe in which Star Wars did right by its characters. I reviewed that on my YouTube channel. That's at AA Voigt on YouTube. But yeah, it was a great time. I'm glad we talked about the Forgotten City. How do we want to close this one out?
Well, Aaron, I'm here to kill you, and I choose the fucking gun.
We'll see you all next week.